What's up, guys? It's Wacko. Welcome you to my mid-season little draft change for SPS Season 9. As you can see from the image, I have dropped Diancie and Gallade, both were my Tera captains. I've also dropped Galarian Slowking, I've dropped Beartic, and I've dropped Hydreigon. Um, so yeah, those are some pretty big changes, especially for me, because I feel like I am like the biggest like Slowking stan. I'm like the biggest Diancie stan. Um, I'm also like probably one of the biggest like Hydreigon and like Gallade stans out there. Probably not Gallade. Gallade has a ton of fans, but I feel like as a pseudo legendary, no one really respects Hydreigon. But um, yeah, so I dropped all of them, and I especially dropped Beartic after its performance last week. It didn't really do much last week, but it tried its best, I suppose. Um, but yeah, so I end up picking up Sneasler, Tapu Lele, Chiyu, and Leafeon, and I also slapped Tera on Araquanid. So basically, Araquanid is my only Tera captain. Um, but it's because it's the only mon on my team that is able to Tera. I guess Leafeon could have, but I didn't have enough budget points to Tera the Leafeon. So yeah, these are my new pickups. So basically, my thought process here is a lot of the mons that I dropped, except Gallade, to be honest, like Diancie, Hydreigon, Slowking, their offenses are a little bit underwhelming, and I have them on a team with like Tornadus Therian and Terapagos and Iron Treads, and those guys' offense is already like kind of low. But the reason like I didn't drop those guys is because those are like my top tiers, and like Terapagos has amazing sweeping potential. Um, so I didn't really have a lot of power, and I didn't really want to rely on Gallade to be like my offense. And Gallade's kind of slow. It's a little bit not as bulky. That was another issue I felt like my team had, as my team really had like no physical bulk. Um, I had Diancie, sure, but overall, like I did not have a lot of physical bulk on the team. I still don't really have the best physical bulk, but I would say it's gotten a lot better because I do still have Mega Manectric. Um, I still have Iron Treads. I still have Terapagos. Um, so it's not like the worst thing ever, but I'd rather have a more offensive-based team that's faster than like a slow team that relies on like a lot of setup to get going. Um, and that's kind of like what Gallade did. Hydreigon was really slow, and by slow I mean like 98 base speed is not bad, but in this meta, like it kind of gets destroyed by like the random like dazzling gleams you see. The everything gets close combat now. There's a lot of ice coverage. So Hydreigon had a lot of weaknesses, and it was just a little bit too slow and a little bit like too what's like the word for it? It wasn't strong enough really either. 125 special attack is great, but in this meta, like it's it's just not hitting hard enough. Um, and I wasn't finding opportunities to really bring it to any games. Like it kind of didn't really enter the pace like ever. Um, so I figured just dropping it for something else would have been a lot better. And I considered dropping Hydreigon and Beartic for Chiyu like before the draft even started, because I've used Hydreigon before. I love Hydreigon, but I think I'd only ever use Hydreigon with like Tera at this point because it's just a little bit too weak and too power crept now. Um, and my team, like the current team that I had, it was basically locked in the Choice Scarf anyways, because I didn't really have another Scarfer. But now that I've picked up other Scarfers, Hydreigon didn't really have to fit there anymore. So I figured Hydreigon had to just kind of go. Galarian Slowking had to go as well. It just kind of had to go because other things that helped to fit better required Slowking to leave. Um, that said, I basically combined Slowking, Gallade, and Hydreigon into Lele, Chi-Yu, and Sneasler, and I guess Diancie as well. Like, those four combined kind of turned into those three, and Beartic turned into Leafeon because that's how many points I had, basically. Um, so yeah, I guess talking about Sneasler, Sneasler is quite a bit better than Gallade. I would say Gallade is technically a lot stronger, but Sneasler is a lot faster. And the nice thing about Sneasler is I have it paired with Lele, and it's able to get off the Psychic Seed in matchups where it needs to, and it can sweep with Unburden through the rest of everyone else's teams. It also has stuff like Dire Claw if I really want to mess with things like Dire Claw. That's a disgusting move. I'm gonna assume people are gonna run like Covert Cloaks, but you also get like Gunk Shot and like other things. Or in general, I could run it as like my Scarfer with like Poison Touch, U-Turn, Dire Claw, Gunk Shot, Close Combat, Throat Chop. It can do all those things. And the nice thing about it being walled by ghosts is I could U-turn on like any like theoretical ghost switch in, and then Chi-Yu comes in, and that's where Chi-Yu is like, this is like my special breaker, whereas Sneasler is more of like the physical breaker. I would say maybe Sneasler's at the best physical breaker, but it's definitely one of the best cleaners, and if I wanted to use it as like a physical breaker, it's possible. So yeah, now I have Chi-Yu, who is, I think, like one of the hardest special hitters in the entire game. And like, Fire and Dark is super hard to wall. There's very few things that switch in on it. And the fact that I have like pivots into Chi-Yu that force swaps into things that Chi-Yu loves going up against, I would imagine that it's gonna be really hard for people to like switch in on those. Tapu Lele is kind of like a support for Sneasler, but in of itself, like, Lele is also one of the strongest breakers I've ever like had to face. Psychic Terrain plus Psyshock is one of like the most evil things I've ever had to face. And also with my speed tiers being a lot higher, I'm now kind of preventing like priority from kind of sweeping through. So like those ice shards aren't going to be getting at me like too well. Like, people are going to have to like Scarf to outspeed things, and even then, like, I have my options to outspeed them with my own mons. And then yeah, Lele, like, it gets stuff like Taunt, it gets dual screens. I haven't used Lele. I don't think I've ever used any of these mons ever. So I think this is a nice change of pace for me. Like, I've never used any of these four mons over here. You probably can't see my pointer, actually, because I believe it's just an image that I have pointed up right now. So I guess switching over to the prep doc, just so you guys can see, like, everything. There we go. Yeah, this is kind of the gist of, like, everything here. Oh yeah, and like Leafeon kind of adds like a little bit of physical defense for me. I'm not really gonna use Leafeon, but it was like my little like 2 points left over, and I would say maybe I might struggle with like some waters, but I think for the most part I have so much breaking power now that it doesn't really matter. So I feel a lot better with this team, whereas before I was like, oh, Hydreigon's like 14 points, it's a Scarfer. But now I'm like, now I actually have like a real breaking power. And I'm not super reliant on like Slowking to do everything. Slowking is a great mon, don't mind me saying it's like it doesn't belong on this team, but it really didn't belong on this team. Like, my top 3 are just very like reliant on setup or like cleaning at the end of the game. Like, I love treads too. Treads can hit hard, but yeah, like, for the most part, it ends games by sweeping end game. It doesn't really break mid game. But now I can use it as like a rocker, I can use it as like a pivot, um, an assault vester, or like a helmet guy. And I can rely more on like Sneasler, Lele, Chiyu to do all the offensive work. Torn can do more of like the defensive annoyance things with like taunt knockoff, U-turn. Trapagos can be like a stall breaker with like toxic, rapid spin, stuff like that. And then if I don't want to use any of these, because you know sometimes I'm like, I don't think Lele is like the best thing in the matchup, or Treads isn't like the best thing to match up, or even like how the first 2 weeks I've yet to use Trapagos. We're a quarter of the way into the season. I've yet to use Trapagos. I could be like, you know what? No Trapagos this week. We're gonna bring our Tera Araquanid, or we're gonna find like the matchup where I feel like I have to bring Manectric or Leafeon, because like last week I felt like I had to use Manectric, which is kind of sad, but it's kind of how the cookie crumbles. But now I have Tera Araquanid too, and I think Tera Araquanid will kind of help to break things. I think for the most part, it's kind of stuck in like the Tera Water thing, but that's not a bad thing. It's also a sticky webber, so if I want to use Sneasler and Lele more openly, Araquanid having webs up can really help do that. And yeah, these are my trades. I hope you guys enjoy the trades. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you guys next week when we face Para. See you guys then.